in Lancer. Our group of Lancers pursued a sniper and was baited into an ambush. The fight didn't end too well, and so they had to retreat and flee. And after being chased through the woods by the subalterns, they managed to escape Evergreen, but it felt very spooky, kind of like they anticipated your moves very, very well. You're down one mech, and the other mechs are damaged. So, yeah. And you got a feeling the sniper will be back. What do you do?
Well, it's definitely time to rest and repair a little bit. So far, at least, the sniper and their guard is gone, so that at least gives Evergreen a little bit of reprieve for now. Ah, and as for what's next, that is a good question. There's no real new intel to work off, is there?
I mean, you scanned
Yeah,
the
that's right.
sniper and you found out about a bigger one you didn't know before.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you found out that the opposing force not only has normal subalterns, but also mech chases at their disposal. So, I mean,
Right.
that's new.
And I guess interesting detail, you mentioned that they were, in fact, impaired from the very beginning.
Yes.
Uh, that I think could imply something. They didn't look like they were damaged or anything beforehand either, did they? Or did they
No,
look really old?
no. Basically, you also found out these were remote controlled drones, so they were impaired because of the lack of the controls.
Okay.
So
My
by
thought
by
going ahead was that, oh, the NHP maybe doesn't know how to actually control the mechs, and so it's impaired as any pilot would be without a license.
no,
Okay.
it's because there was no NHP in the Mac, but it was a remote drone.
Mhm. So we got two things to act on. One, that they're outside of a certain operational range, but still inside of another. And the second would be we do have the name to go off of.
Uh,
I could maybe try to do some more research and asking around and see if maybe anyone could tell me about Beggar One. But I remember previous requests for information from the Union basically came back, no, we're not giving that up. So I don't think this would fare much better.
yeah, I mean, if you do a hit or search on the Union databases, there doesn't turn up a hit, but you don't know if there is no information or you don't get the information.
Right. My initial assumption here would clearly be that Beggar One is part of some sort of flight group of whatever space forces were here on the planet. So Beggar One obviously being like the first of that group. So maybe there's more beggars. Who knows? We won't know until they try to kill us. So gotta figure something out about that. We could additionally try to figure out how we want to prepare for the sniper again and how we'd want to tackle that if it happened.
Yeah.
We could start setting up minefields since we do have a lot of local knowledge of troops moving around, and a printer printing out resources. That could be a distinct possibility.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of us have the explosive skill trigger or anything, do we?
I mean, if the mine is preset and you don't build it yourself, you don't need an explosive skill tracker to plant a mine. You would need it to build it yourself or
Hmm.
disarm it or stuff like that. Or maybe if you wanted something like a charge at a building to do the exact amount of damage you want to do, but placing mines and living with damage. But of course, if you make a minefield out of the woods, you have to take care not to step on them yourselves.
Right. It does eventually become the problem of, wait a second, we gotta clean this up, don't we?
Yeah.
Or someone does. I mean, it's their planet, not ours. We'll be long gone. Uh, but yeah, that is my current ongoing thoughts. Anyone got any of their own? Arcloid, what you think?
I do like the idea of some mines to slow down the subalterns coming to the green.
Yeah, undoubtedly they do some kind of attack. I mean, we know there's an attack coming in general. So that's what Cobra thinks. What about Showbiz?
I think
Mhm.
Showbiz is still on the toilet and you have to wait for his thoughts.
That's just fine. Um, yeah, short of being able to get more information, the minefield thing seems like the steadiest plan, even if it's a little messier in the future. It would at least also give us a leg up on future sniper attempts. So I'll go ahead and start setting that up, I think.
Yeah.
Which would probably require like getting access to the printer, making sure they let us get through with it, setting it up, determining the right places to set it up, having a plan in place, making sure everyone knows their minds. So yeah, there's a handful of different activities involved with this. How would you like to handle it?
Yeah, I mean, how do you issue the request?
Uh, well, with issuing the request, I could always try to get a hold of access to the printer.
No, I mean not with Trigger, but in-game. Do you just do it with your communication unit? Do you go there in person?
You know what? Given that I know that there's AI and airwaves, and I got time while my stuff is getting repaired anyway, I'm going to go in person and talk about the request.
Okay. Also, keep in mind while Showbiz is AFK, you need a printer slot for printing a new Mac.
Hmm.
No.
Right, so we'll need to work on some time for that too. So I'm probably slotting those together, probably the mech first and then the mines.
Yeah.
Uh, so hopefully if they don't have a problem with that, we can go through with it.
Yeah. When you try to enter the governor's building, one of the lancers from the crisis response team bars your entrance and says, yeah, if you have any requests, issue it formally.
I'd like to, but I'd also like to do it off OmniNet if that's just fine.
Yeah, then get an appointment first.
Where can I get an appointment these days?
Yeah. He points at your patient's concierge unit. Yeah, just issue it and get in queue.
Hmm. Zero's gonna just like tap his foot a little bit and put his hand to his head and just shake a little bit. I don't have time. This is part of my mission while I'm here. I mean, if you guys are fine with me just wasting time while I'm here, that's just fine. But I think the governor would rather I be active.
The guy in front of you is a more rough, big guy, and a lot of his body is replaced by cybernetic parts.
Mhm.
And he seems more the brute of the group than anything else. And yeah, he simply looks at you and says, "Yeah, I don't care. Talk to Eddie."
Well, I'm not like a threatening or intimidating figure or anything, and I don't think I have very much I can like play off against big person standing in my way that I literally should not shoot. Um, so I guess I'm going to have to go ahead and file that manually then, huh? Uh,
Do you file an appointment with Eddie or a printer request?
the appointment. Yeah, because I want to go ahead and do that in person and slightly off record. That's the main
Slightly.
point of getting in there to talk with him.
Yeah,
Flow information.
Eddie gives you a date tomorrow afternoon. So.
But I will go ahead and put the hmm.
And it's like a 15-minute slot.
Oh boy. Well, that gives me a whole day to prepare a presentation. I'm gonna have a PowerPoint. That's right. Thousands of years in the future, long after Earth has been forgotten and then refound again, PowerPoint still rules.
It's a bleak future indeed.
So yeah, I will go ahead and prepare for that. If Showbiz comes back and the time for the request is inadequate, we can always have Showbiz put in his own request to print out his mech and handle that, but I'll keep handling this as long as it goes on. So that's what I'm gonna be up to, I suppose. Fixing my mech, preparing a presentation, and going to that meeting tomorrow, apparently.
Okay. Korba, anything special you want to do in the meantime? Or start doing?
I can't think of anything that he's already has been doing that he wouldn't. That he. I can't think of anything that he hasn't already been doing that he would start doing.
Okay. So,
Sorry, I stripped over my own words there.
So basically, back to whipping the militia into shape.
Yeah.
no, last time you were helping the refugees clear the woods.
Yes. So we continue doing that so there's less places for snipers to hide.
Yeah.
At least close enough to Evergreen.
Okay. Then we will do a downtime rolls later, so we just fast forward to tomorrow. Your appointment is due in 15 minutes. So. And it's at the governor's office.
Okay. Zero has planned out ahead of time, so he's gonna be there on time.
Yeah. This time you're let through, and Eddie Wu sits at a desk and is looking at some sorts of document and doesn't look up when you enter.
I'll go ahead and approach the desk and set a small stack of papers on his desk.
Oh, is that your report of yesterday's skirmish?
That and a little bit more. It also includes a plan to deal with future skirmishes of the same nature.
Yeah. Yeah, he starts looking through the battle report. Is anything missing this time?
In the battle report, I don't see why not in this case. So I'm gonna say yes, everything is in there.
Do you know anything about this beggar one?
Not yet, unfortunately. The Union is very stiff with records, and they've never responded to many of my requests.
Oh. Have you asked your local contacts or one of our hostages?
Not just yet. I haven't considered that many people on planet or in Evergreen right now would know these names, if they happen to be very old names.
Yeah, by your contacts, I of course meant the people from High Foam, which have been here for longer, right?
It's possible they might, but I've been trying to keep up to date with them. Maybe I could go ahead and try to contact them again. I'll put that into the plans. But for now, I'd like you to go ahead and review the current mine-laying pattern I have planned. We know the ranges these snipers have operated at before, and how they would like to operate. I think minefields at these distances and these locations would be optimal. I merely need to have printing time for it. And we can easily slip that into the printing time for Showbiz's mech as well.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think these mines will help us out more than additional rifles and armor for militia, or additional cannons to put on the wall?
I'll be frank in my own assessment. I don't think Evergreen can necessarily hold this situation. If we deploy mines, we can perhaps delay their current siege tactics. But if it comes down to a full assault, I'm not certain any number of bullets that the men have will necessarily stop it. We're in a pattern right now where I believe we need to delay them as much as possible.
Yeah, but wouldn't yeah. So would this delay them longer than the defensive measures we're taking?
That depends. Do your defensive measures have plans to include 20-kilometer snipers?
Oh, 20-kilometer snipers will force casualties, but they won't force us to lose the city. Right? I advise you not to stick your head out.
Of course. I'm just mentally going like, wait, is this a yes or a no? I'm not entirely sure just yet.
Yeah, you get a feeling he's more holding out to you than agreeing.
Right. I'm trying to think of like how to maybe best address his concerns here. I've made my case like his thought as best as I could just there. So, are the mines better than having more defenses? Honestly, I still think yes. So, uh, yeah, Zero will just kind of more emphatically say, I genuinely don't think Evergreen will necessarily hold in the case of a true attack.
Yeah. Then try to get help from your friends at Haifa. Maybe that would help us. Or ask them to distract the subalterns.
They're already already looking for potential openings. That's what we need to wait for.
And by looking, you mean they wait till we are attacked, so they aren't.
Well, I'll be frank with you again. I'm not sure they're going to survive either.
Yes. Yeah, okay, then.
And whoever survives last isn't necessarily a winner here.
He would put your requests roll at the end of the current queue. If you want anything better, give me a roll.
Let's see. What shall I roll? Lead and inspire?
I don't think you can particularly lead him, given that he's above you in the hierarchy.
Incredibly true.
So it's...
Take control of the situation by pulling out my gun.
I mean, it's,
I could just roll get a hold of as general talking to a means and continuing to press him. Unless you just rather not roll. What do you think?
So, yeah, but then I'd, on top of you, require to roleplay out you getting really a hold of the situation. Because getting hold of is quite forward. So to say.
Okay. So I guess the only thing left to try to really press myself up in the queue then is just rolling that d20, I guess. I don't think I have anything else like particularly charm him or anything. I'll just go ahead and settle for being in the queue with undescript paperwork, which is ultimately what I was aiming for.
You what?
Yeah. Part of the entire reason of being here was making sure that the
okay.
that there isn't a good digital footprint of what's happening with the mines. He knows, he has the plans, he can tell the troops directly, but it's not being directly radio communicated, it's not going through the network, it couldn't easily be exposed. That's ultimately what this is about. Information security. I'm sorry if that wasn't immediately apparent.
Yeah, I got you now. But...
Okay. Well, guess I'm gonna have to wait.
So you...
I could always go ahead and make another trip to Hive Home.
Yeah, but you could also do a roll, even with something. If you don't have a trigger, you can roll a bare d20.
Let's give it a go. Oh, okay. All right. I guess I just have to say some magic words.
Yeah. He's nice and puts in show business replacement make right at midnight, and the nights like the mines like in 3 or 4 days. So, and he really puts in some hours of mines, so you get quite a lot.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but you're in charge of getting them into the woods.
Yep. So I'm forming up plans and making sure everything's ready then. Man, that PowerPoint really came in handy.
Yeah.
All right. So what is next? Did Cobra actually get around to handling anything he was up to?
Oh.
We now know that we're gonna have to wait at least like 3 or 4 days.
I mean, if you just wait those days, then I will have you roll downtime. I prefer to do that once Trobis is back, but if you do nothing but waiting. But right now he's putting in the effort to further the defensibility of Evergreen.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you wait or do you do something in the meantime?
I could always try to get back in contact with High Foam, which basically means going all the way out there again. Man, it'd be really nice if we had some way to actually communicate with them, huh?
Oh, you do have their radio frequencies now. You remember?
Oh, okay.
I mean, it gets relayed, but good enough to leave messages.
Okay. So maybe I'll try to get a hold of them and see what information they have about a Beggar One. If they've encountered it before, and if they happen to know anything particular about it.
Yeah. Beggar One, also an NHP. It seems to be an old union, and it's in league with OK, so Overland King Watcher. Don't know their exact relationship, but basically, Beggar One seems taking control over the forces on this continent. So he's like a general type.
Right, so we have a new and good target then. But that doesn't help us narrow down exactly where to strike. Hmm. While I'm in communication, I'll ask them about that uh town of theirs, the one that we were discussing before. I just
Yeah,
can't
what?
immediately remember what the name of it was. The one that they've quarantined or lost contact with or haven't talked with for a bit.
What? Huh? I don't know what you mean. Do you mean Egregore Cross or?
I think that was
What?
it.
No, Egregore Cross is an important strategic point they still hold. They
Okay.
just fear their elite cities will abandon this point. Because, yeah, at Egregore Cross, there used to be constant fighting, but for the last 3.5 weeks, it was eerily silent, no subaltern attacks whatsoever, and basically they concluded that all the subalterns are above ground right now and focused on Evergreen. And
Hmm.
High Foam is worried about it, but the ally cities are like, oh yeah, have Evergreen deal with this problem, we are out.
Right. So we're their target right now. I wonder why we're their target. Other than being easy.
Oh,
That
and
sounds like a fun mystery to solve at some point.
apart from the printer, you mean?
Oh, right, the printer. Ah, now everything makes sense. That's right. I keep
That's all.
forgetting it's there even after explicitly requesting something to be printed.
I mean,
It's like taking for granted, you know. It's like, I got this computer with like all the information in the universe on me. It's like, what if I wanted to know something? Right. So obvious printer targets. Uh,
yeah,
and
you
these
have a
things are all coming
printer.
from some printer somewhere too. So
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they could come from either reused parts that were on the ship or from some low-level, low-tech factory, basically. Not everything is printed in this universe. But
right.
having a printer is better than just having factories. So,
It's like you could literally print out anything you want.
yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you also have this subaltern factory and a reactor and quite some knowledge stored within the archives. So
Hmm.
who knows what
Right,
is
so
hidden in there?
incredibly high value, actually. Oops.
Yeah, high value with low defense. That seems like a good target. I mean, that's the assessment you get from Ilio Ordo anyway.
Mhm. All right. So, well, we learned a little bit. We still don't have anything on this beggar one. Uh, and Evergreen is still basically under threat.
So, Ilio also asks you if you have anything new for him. So, why are you asking about this beggar one right now?
Well, it does in fact seem like it is taking charge of its assault on Evergreen, and it's moved up to sieging it.
What do you plan?
Right now, I'm keeping those measures discreet for information security purposes. But I'm hoping we can delay them long enough.
If there's anything me or my rangers need to know, let me know. Speaking of my rangers, you still got 12 of my wounded rangers in your city. When will they be allowed to come back?
I gotta do what I did out of character like a few days ago too, and kind of blink and go, wait, we still have those?
Yeah,
I think I might need to remedy this immediately. And actually, I think they present a brilliant solution to my problem. I will just go ahead and return them, and in the process, I will also be sending with them a copy of areas for you to avoid.
Okay, so do you relay this by radio or? This is what you just said.
Ah, man, that's a good point. Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud. Uh, I will just go ahead and relay. Uh, I will go ahead and return them post haste. I will make sure that they are safe in their travels.
He sends back an acknowledgement. And
Hmm. What can I possibly do here, though? Hmm. I'm just trying to mull through plans in my head now. I suppose I'm basically just done with the conversation, trying to think like, alright, so they have Egregore Cross, everyone's abandoning it, but there's nothing happening there anyway. But they do have other allies. But maybe if their allies weren't being so flaky, they could explicitly help us more in any upcoming engagement. But the entirety of their army of the subalterns is really big and doesn't seem good, so I guess this would be a narrative question. How do I feel about the idea of what Evergreen has now and what Hivehome has now in, like, say, a straight up direct confrontation with what the subalterns have right now?
I mean,
I'm guessing it doesn't look good.
the straight up confrontation, you started out with maybe 50 or 60 militiamen, and it grew up to a few hundred. But yeah, it's farmers and smiths and other handymen, or even like administrative workers put to the rifles. So they're not exactly the best soldiers. You have, including you, 8 lancers. So if there really is a full-on attack, you wouldn't stand a chance. Against high form, it's a little bit more complicated. You saw they have a veteran force, But yeah, they must have thousands of soldiers, or maybe 10,000s. You don't know exactly. They also have a lot more mechs, so that's good. But
believe they actually even explicitly indicated they have about 80 rangers.
80? What do you mean 80?
Well, I'm pretty sure I remember the number 80. Maybe I'm just imagining that and never happened.
Oh, yeah.
But even if they had those numbers, they're still very valuable and hard to repair because they don't have printers.
Oh, you mean like the mechs? Yeah.
Yes, the mechs.
Yeah. The
Maybe that's
heavy
an
trash.
overestimate on my part. I'm not sure anymore. But their chances look better, but probably still not great.
Yeah. I mean, your military training tells you if you're on the defensive, you will need to outlast your enemy. So your enemy needs to lose his will to fight, but you don't see any way they will lose their will to fight. Because it's
Right, they're drones taking orders.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
So
we need to aim at the command structure, their objectives, and what they feel is important to them.
yeah, but with the situation at hand, like you analyzed, iPhone can't really go on the offensive in any way.
Right, it might be able to sit on the defensive, but yeah, if it used up any of its resources, it'd probably end up vulnerable.
Yeah.
Which I guess just comes back to how do we allow them to not be vulnerable but still contribute?
Okay.
That's a question I don't know how to answer yet, I think.
I got back the numbers for you. They have 300 size 1/2 max and 80 size 1 and 2 max. So that's the number
There we
you
go. The number
got.
wasn't entirely imagined.
Yes. I found a number.
That is still a very sizable force, at least. So that is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, wait. I had actual stuff to do. I have to go get those prisoners.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. You're about to say something.
they are guarded 24/7 by some militiamen and some subalterns. So
Right. I don't necessarily have like direct authority anymore at this point. Where before I was trying to flex like I did. Correct?
no, you don't.
Okay, so I will ultimately have to request for their freedom as well.
Request denied.
Yep, so I'm just looking at my iPad, just kind of going, petition, denial, in person, schedule meeting.
Okay, so you want to schedule a meeting again? A meeting again? Or,
Yep, time to waste more of his time. This is what Zero does. He just goes around and talks to people.
do you just ask for an appointment, or do you put in a topic or an agenda?
I'm definitely putting in topic, agenda, higher priority, things like that. This is definitely about the prisoners, and yeah.
Yeah, you simply get back, ask Edena G about the prisoners.
Adina G. Who was that? Was that one of the new Lancers?
No, she is basically the human adjutant of patients. So, deputy, call it deputy. So, of patients.
Okay, deputy. That's fine. I will go and locate her to harass her as much as possible.
You remember her? She arrests you when those militiamen went AWOL and you covered for them.
Oh
So.
yeah, I remember a little bit of that. Yeah. So she'll be happy to see me.
So, yeah, she's totally happy to have those hostages because it's bargaining power. I mean, hey, ever since we got those hostages, the Rangers didn't attack anymore, so right?
I don't think they're so useful as bargaining power anymore. I think at this point they represent a lack of goodwill, if anything. We already have the ceasefire you want. There's already complications in the way that prevent them from taking any actions against us. I don't think that these prisoners actually provide any additional security above and beyond the measures currently in place.
Yeah, but we don't get anything from releasing them either. I don't see no reason.
Well, I think we do. Because what I'd like to do is send them back with a message.
A message you couldn't deliver.
Well, I could, but they're actually very convenient to do it so that I don't have to. And at this Zero just like shrugs like he's a lazy bastard. I just, the forest, it's so hot, and I gotta, like, sleep in the mag, and, you gotta sit up, and it's all uncomfortable.
Yeah, but then basically one ranger is enough as messenger, right?
I still think we can earn more goodwill if we go ahead and send them all back now. We're not under any threat from Hive Home, and I don't think they intend to continue to be a threat at this point.
Okay, go ahead and give me a roll of how convincing you are.
Let's see. What do I have to convince people with?
I mean,
Uh, I could either lead or inspire, or maybe say, like, look, if they ever did plan, this is what they would do, and 12 people doesn't make the difference.
okay,
Which would basically be an assault roll, I suppose.
yeah. It's,
Would you like me to roll any of those?
I mean, give me a read situation.
Read the situation. Bam. It's Nate.
Okay, you don't read anything. So then just give me a plain convincing roll, so D20 without modifier. So
Do D20.
yeah, she.
Yes.
So yeah, yeah. You get a feel she's looking for something specific, but you don't know why. You've got no clue why, what. And yeah, so you get one messenger.
I will go ahead and ask, though, if there's anything I could do to put you at ease about this. And in metagame terms, that would be going, what do I gotta get up to give them all?
I mean, basically, she still sees them as bargaining power and wants something in return, something more tangible as goodwill. So, like promise of assistance, good intel, weapons, stuff. I mean,
Okay.
assistance would be the most prized, but
So maybe I will go ahead and, if that would be acceptable, I would promise that I will do everything I can to acquire Hive Home's assistance in protecting Evergreen.
Everything? Question mark.
Yeah, yeah, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Then go ahead and do that, but you better not fail.
That's okay. I've got a lot of people to disappoint. So there we go. So one promise, one thing I have to do as another goal, and at least I got the 12 people. So I'm gonna go ahead and gather them up and take one in particular. I'm going to explain to him the mine laying situation, and I'm going to give him a copy of the plans in paper that he can deliver to Hiveholm, along with an explanatory note.
He nods and says, "Thank you." And then he stuffs these plants under his clothes to hide them.
Excellent. And I'll make sure that to see them off, make sure that their journey path is going to be safe from enemy forces, and see them to the gate safely. Make sure they have enough supplies, things like that. Make
How
sure they
far
have a
do
safe
you?
journey.
Far do you see them off till the entry of the hive, or just to the walls, to the woods? Or?
I could go ahead and escort them for about an hour in particular, and then return back to Evergreen. But we do have our scouting information from before to make sure they don't run into anything as best as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, they how do they will walk in a curve then, because in kind of a straight line to high foam is where you encounter to the sniper. So
Mm-hmm. Right, that'd be a good plan.
right.
Okay. Well, time for me to think about how I'm going to convince Hiveholm to commit forces. Yay! The most complicated problem. That's gonna take some thinking, so I'm gonna think about that. What else do you want to move on to?
Uh, Give me 1 second to get to the right page again. Yeah. As you're walking the street and Cobra is doing his woodworks, so to say, you hear a sniper shot again. And
They're at it again already.
yes. And I'd like to handle this one not as actual miniature mech combat, but rather as the minor attack new rule laid out in the Wallflower book. I copied it
Okay.
to you in downtime actions, so basically it's more like narrative combat. You describe me what do you do. You apply the triggers that best fit to do your description, and then we see what's the outcome of this minor attack.
Alright, time to go ahead and take a look at how that's handled. This is considered hostile set piece action. GM declares when happens, player apply any trigger bonuses appropriate to the situation on approval. Might be a lone sniper, harassing position. Yep, exactly. Anything larger should be a major attack. Oh boy. So let's see. Sporadic
So yeah,
artillery, sending units scrambling. Well, we do have a militia. We do have our mechs. I can literally lead assaults. And I guess how would we want to handle this?
Same.
Our minds aren't ready yet, correct?
No, they will be ready in 2 days.
Okay.
But yeah, you got a sniper right now, and so basically, what do you do? Cobra, that includes you too. So,
All right.
My current suggestions for what I could do on my side would be either A, plan the assault, or B, lead and inspire the militia as we deal with the assault.
decide what Zero does, and then describe it.
Well, my only question would be if that prevents everyone else from doing their thing, or if this is a collective action.
No, it's a collective action.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I will go ahead and rally the militia. I will inspire them in their attack to maintain the morale.
Cobra, what do you
Be a
do?
push.
So,
Give me some moment to look through the downtime action so I know what's.
Okay. I'll go ahead and make my roll first then, since I've already declared what I'm going to do.
yeah.
Lead and inspire. The best roll yet. Am I rolling with an advantage on? I am. That's not good. That didn't really help the read a situation roll, but 6 less for that 25, so it's a 19. That's still good, but it's not 25 good.
Okay, then you can go ahead and read the 10 to 15 section and pick one of the results and ignore the negative part of whatever you choose.
Okay. The formatting's a little awkward, so I have to like figure that out.
Yeah, sorry, that's when
I
copying
understand, like, the
pasting.
copy pasting is just not that great in a lot of things, and all the return characters just ruin it.
Yeah.
Do any misses? There we go. Rolled a 10 to 15. Oh, on a 16 plus. You choose one of the results of the previous action and disregard any conditions noting NPC deaths or loss of items. So we got these.
Cobra, describe what your character does, please. In a minute.
All right. I guess he would try to find cover and use his sniping mech to return fire if it can be found. So either survive or get somewhere quickly to get to cover, or act unseen in a herd to not be seen and still do what he wants to do. I'll let you pick.
No, I mean, what's your focus? Is your focus getting there fast, or is their focus getting there unseen? So you describe and then we pick accordingly.
Unseen.
Okay, then go ahead and do it unseen.
Okay.
So,
Bum. On a 9 or lower.
no, it's
On a roll of 10 to 15, choose one of the following. Okay.
Okay, I think I've selected, and honestly, they are. Once you take away the downsides, they're all just straight successes. The first shells and salvos of gunfire land just beyond me, but catch an unlucky group. But when we look back, it is actually, nobody has been injured. It missed them as well. We happen to be looking in the right direction when the gunfire cannonade started, and we can see where it came from properly.
yeah. Okay, so
No allies killed or critically wounded.
Cobra, go ahead and describe, and afterwards, hopefully you just noted it's that you agree. So basically, Zero immediately seizes the militia and leads a counterattack because he immediately spotted it, while you sneak to your mech, and once 0 points out of position, you start to counterfire. And because of your past training of the refugees you did, you can they manage to lay their heads low and avoid any further casualties after the first one. So yeah, you drive off the sniper with only a single civilian lost.
Yeah, I picked you're lucky, the opening shots miss you, you're able to return fire or otherwise engage the enemy.
Yeah, then so yeah, you got a good outcome all in all, but then the enemy is creeping closer and closer to Terror.
Yep, an ever-increasing problem.
I'll take a bio break and let you ponder your next actions.
Oh boy. All right.
If you're very nice, you do it out loud so the listeners are entertained. Be right back.
Entertainment. Alrighty. So, my ultimate goal is going to be to try to enlist Hiveholm in the defense. They have plenty of resources, but committal could lead to them being vulnerable. Ultimately, they need something to assure they won't be so vulnerable. That's hard to determine what it could be. They're already underground. They have lots of forces. They have, what's ultimately a bunch of, narrow tunnels. The only thing they really don't have is a bead on what's happening on the surface on the regular. There are satellites in orbit. Patience does have control of one of them at the very least, but I've heard that there's others. Maybe if I take control of the satellites, or refurbish them to some degree, I can give them control of that in exchange for some of their assistance. They're happy with the amount of knowledge they have. They would be happier committing some amount of forces than how safe they are or not. That is my immediate thoughts that I'm brainstorming out of my head, trying to keep this going in one long, incredibly unbroken sentence as I move from topic to topic.
Well, I was thinking of navigating bureaucracy to see if there's any space left in Evergreen for any of the refugees outside to get them inside.
So I'm back.
Welcome back. So Cobra's thinking of micromanaging the refugee situation with some bureaucracy. And I think I brainstormed up the plan of asking, what was the satellite situation on this planet like anyway? I think I recall hearing that there were some broken or disused satellites, and I know Patience has control of at least one of them.
Give me a short second. Sorry, I have to restart. I tried restarting my internet because I lost connection to Roll20. So I will be off for a second.
Okay, we'll wait a second. So Cobra, you're just gonna pack them all in, right?
So yeah, restarting, reconnecting it. Our now got access to Roll20 again. Yay, internet.
Woo!
So yeah, basically the satellite Patience got control of is a new satellite, not an old one. It's a better satellite, so it's not really that good for getting ground pictures. It's more better for taking measurements. And you're supposed to out satellites, but the information you got about are not satellites, but rather free orbital stations, which were like bombardment stations. And one is supposed to be lost during the war, and one is supposed to be probably tumbling down into the atmosphere sometime in the past. So because of the decreasing orbit, and the third one is still in orbit, but yeah, it's not functioning by everything you gathered. I mean, it's 100 years old information. You don't know how accurate it is. They could all be lost, or they could all three be updated.
Right. Well, the easiest thing to do would be to just literally check. There are plenty of modules to make my mech space worthy. And we do
Yeah.
have a launch station.
What do you mean by launch station? The launch pad, or?
Yeah, we do have the launch pad. I guess I
Yeah.
would still need a vehicle to take me up and down from orbit.
So, I mean, with a flying mech and enough patience, you could do it yourself, but it would take a long time. But yeah, guess what would happen if you ask for access to the Corbett of the Command Crisis Response Team just to scout. I mean, even if there is station,
we barely got the propeller plane out of them here.
Yeah, its space is extremely big, and if you're up there and just looking with your eyes, you could search forever and miss the station and all.
Right, but at least if
The
we're like
nothing.
doing with orbit, there are at least a number of small things that make it a lot easier to try to find a very large object in orbit as compared to just like searching all of space. One of the easiest measures would obviously be just basic astronomy, where, okay, it's night, we look up, and if we see something moving really fast and crossing the horizon constantly, it's probably a space station or satellite.
Yeah.
And that's really easy to pull off. The second thing I have is that maybe, given that we're in the future, we have our OmniNet towers up now. It is possible we could use them for a bit of radio astronomy and just literally bounce stuff off of anything that's up there. The even slightly more future-y solution could be, well, we have OmniNet access, and if these satellites are in any possible way operational or have anything possibly on them that would send or receive an OmniNet signal, we could just blast them and have them tell us that they're there. So which would be hilarious. You know, someone just didn't turn off their Wi-Fi router when they left, and so it's just been there for thousands of years. So those are the three immediate solutions I have that would make this incredibly easy instead of like going into orbit and like looking with my eyes directly.
Okay. Yeah,
The only question is, what kind of role do any of those come down to?
I mean, if you just want to look at the sky, and if you think about how small a satellite is, you can't see it even with a telescope. Not with normal handheld one. You would need something
I guess
bigger.
like in real life, the International Space Station is completely visible to the naked eye.
Yeah, the
It's
International
a small,
Space
tiny
Station.
speck, but it's still very visible.
But